What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
Hey Ben, you're going on a trip.
Yeah, I am. I am going.
Tell me about it.
I am going down to Trinidad to see my girlfriend.
Anything special you're going to do while you're there?
Yes, I am proposing to my girlfriend while I'm down there. That is a thing that is happening.
So I wanted you to mention this, Ben, because it came to my attention that you have not planned this yet in any kind of detail or anything under some
You have no
weak
plan at all?
and tiny and easily shattered excuses.
I wouldn't say I have no plan whatsoever. Like, I have a ring. That's an important part. That's part of the planning process. And a knee, yeah. 2 things that are very useful.
Our intro song says, what if you didn't have knees, though?
Oh, well, that would complicate proposals, I guess.
Just fall over.
Yeah, you just flop and, like, sort of flail the ring up towards her.
Well, so what it is, Ben, you don't have to tell me your actual plans.
That's good, because I don't have them, as I mentioned.
But what's kind of unique about your situation is that she already has basically said yes already. So you already know you're getting a yes.
Yes, actually, to be perfectly like clear about it, because of the visa process we're going through.
Don't say that. Then they'll cancel it. They'll be like, this was
That's not how it works. That's not how it works. But because of the visa process, we have literally submitted paperwork to the U.S. government with letters of intent to marry that we have both signed. So I feel pretty confident in her saying yes.
And so the romance wasn't there when you're filling out paperwork?
The romance was not
US
there.
U.S. government issued paperwork?
Yeah, while filling out, putting together a 90-page document. No, yeah, maybe not the most. Actually, to be fair, we did get to go back through our old chats when we first started dating and pick out ones to submit, because that's part of one of the things they suggest submitting to prove a relationship is
wow,
communications between each other. So we did
so
get
do
to
you
go through.
Have to dig for the sexiest and steamiest text that you've sent back and forth and be like, oh yeah, we were way into it?
We tried to avoid that for the most part.
But the thing is, would you want to?
I really don't want whoever government employee will be reading this to be privy to.
Well, that's the thing. I think to prove your relationship, you kind of want both ends. You kind of want the generic day-to-day stuff, hey, I'll pick you up again on Thursday, and hey, did you pick up the laundry? And we're together. But then you also got to have the hey, we're not just roommates.
Yeah, I definitely did those. It was stuff about a time when our dishwasher stopped working and we had to contact the landlord. And then also, the time when we were booking a literally called, romance package at a, resort in Vermont for a weekend.
Dude, this is, I didn't know that you had to, go back and test. This is a buck wild process.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. We have sworn statements from people we know saying, yes, they are people who know each other and are a couple.
I mean, it makes sense that
right,
you have
yeah.
to go through this process.
No, yeah, totally. It does, but it was kind of hilarious, going back through it.
So this gives you basically carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want.
This is true.
In this proposal.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, you could do it very, very, very bad, but I don't know how bad your proposal would have to be where she would change her mind.
Right.
It would involve, drowning a puppy or something.
Yeah, she's big into dogs, so she would not like that. So,
she knows it's coming, and you do what there's so many possibilities, my brain immediately went to the flash mob type proposals where you just get everybody and everything in on it.
Does she want all that attention?
She definitely does not want all that attention.
Oh, that makes it even better.
Nope.
So you gotta get a bigger flash mob.
Nope. Nope. Nuh-uh.
It would also be how would you form a flash mob in a country that you've never been to before?
I have been there before, but yes, I do not know that many people there. I could form a flash group of her family.
What's the native language over there?
It's English. It's English.
Okay, so that helps.
Yeah,
that helps.
It makes it easier. And I do know some of her friends who are active on social media who I could get to rally the troops for it.
Oh, well, get on it.
Go on Craigslist.
Go on Craigslist.
I will give anyone $5.
Hey, I don't want to make this commitment.
If you learn all the dance moves to the Monster Mash and can be in this plaza at 3:30 p.m. on this date, I will give you $5 and my eternal thanks.
Why would he choose the Monster Mash as the song?
Because it's a graveyard smash, Chris.
Well, clearly I would be rewriting it into the Shanta Mash.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that because that's just literally the worst idea I've ever heard.
The Shanta Mash. Oh, that's good. It rolls off the tongue, Ben.
Her name is Shanta, by the way.
Her name is Shanta. That is an important point that makes that statement make sense.
What if you had all the Christmas things with Santa? If you just bring a lot of H's with you, and then every time you see a Santa something where it says Santa somewhere, you go and make a point to put an H there. And then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, now you have to go back and collect all the H's from where we put them. And then you put them all together. And then when you put them all together, it creates a mechanism that is a large box that opens, revealing the ring.
Marcus, that is technically an idea. And I will give it no other qualifications aside from that.
See, it just seems like you're not giving this the thought it deserves.
Yeah,
Ben.
probably not. I've been
say.
busy, man. I don't know.
See, all these paper thin excuses.
I also realized that we're in like a weird time loop right now because in our holiday episode, we said that he was already in Trinidad.
This is true.
And this is going to air like 3 weeks later, and he has not gone to Trinidad
yes.
yet.
And when this airs, I will, barring some terrible unforeseen circumstance, already be engaged. So,
and we'll be returning a whole bunch of H's to Amazon.
Right. Do not need those anymore.
Can you buy 8-letter H's on Amazon?
Oh, hell yeah.
Probably. It's Amazon.
Probably.
You can buy anything.
They're probably Prime even.
I'd imagine so.
You can get all the letters. You can get like little H's, like some X's. X's come in 3-packs, which is pretty cool. You can get a big D.
I mean, there's lots of websites you can buy that. Anyway, don't we actually do like questions on this show? Isn't that a thing we do?
Yeah, how about one of those, huh? That's my job as the host. I read the question. What if mankind invented teleportation? Ben?
Yeah, so I will sort of set this up for us. So, and a fun thing I'm just realizing right now is that we talked about this at one point, but before we started recording this, I had not confirmed the parameters that I was going to talk about when I did this. So I'm going to go ahead and start saying them, and you guys can jump in if I suddenly trample over everything you have planned. So the big one is that this is not just like magical teleportation that happens, like you snap your fingers or somewhere else. This is...
You need some sort of like mechanism, like a machine.
There is a thing, and we kind of talked about like the transporter in Star Trek. It's not
more Star Trek, less Hagrid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like the important thing is that it is a like an installation, It's not like a little handheld device that you carry with you. It's not,
Right, it's like a room in your house or something.
Exactly, yeah. And then obviously there is an energy cost associated with it. It's not free, which I didn't go too deep into it. I think Marcus is going to talk about energy cost more.
Yep, I'll do that.
I sort of just in general, thought about the fact that the energy cost is going to be, sort of relative to the mass that an object is being teleported and the distance that it is going. And beyond that, because this is all being pulled out of our ass anyway, I didn't really worry too much about that part.
Yeah, because mankind has not yet invented teleportation. We're kind of out in the dry here.
Exactly. We got to sort of, play this one by ear.
Come on, scientists, get your shit together.
So the main question I want to answer was, how is teleportation going to affect me as just some random dude? So, first question is, how prevalent are teleportation stations? 1, teleportation station is hard to say.
The branding is terrible.
It's not great. And so I sort of figured that it's not going to be something that everyone has. Like, I feel like these things are going to be pretty bulky and relatively expensive.
I mean, at first, right?
Right.
It's like computers. Now everyone has computers.
See, I guess, yeah, that's true. But I mean, I guess even like if you're in like an apartment, I guess your apartment building would have one in that scenario. So yeah, so I guess down the line, I guess at first I would say it's something kind of like owning a helicopter or something, like the wealthy would have it, but you and I would not have our own teleporters. I guess down the line, probably, yeah, you would have a teleporter in your home, and
right.
Like apartment buildings would have like a, shared teleporter or something or whatever. But I figure, so I sort of thought about that initial situation where it's relatively rare. I figured the way it's going to kind of work is that it's going to be like a public transit kind of thing, where kind of like a train station, you would go to the place the teleporter is, like the public teleporter, and from there you would get teleported to wherever you want to go. Oh, other important thing about teleporters in our scenario, you don't have to go to like another teleportation station.
Yeah, there's no like receiver
Yeah.
station.
You can be
can just
teleported
go wherever.
anywhere, but you have to
Yeah.
go from a teleporter. So I figure, there's going to be a thing where like for my day-to-day, commute, I would like take, the subway to where the teleporter is and then get teleported where I'm actually going. Or if they're close enough, you can walk to one or whatever. For the most part, this just works out pretty well. It's simpler, fewer cars around. That's all good. The one thing that I kept coming back to that kept sort of putting a damper on like the exciting possibilities here is that you're gonna need a teleporter to get back. Which kept kind of biting me. So like the thing I was thinking is like living in the city, the teleportation thing's not a big deal. Like if I live in a suburb of Boston, if I worked in Boston, it'd be great. Like right now, using Boston as an example, if I worked in the city, there's a T-stop, which is the Boston, subway, like an 8-minute walk from me. I can get anywhere in the city pretty easily. It'd be the same thing with teleportation. I would walk to a teleport where I'm going in Boston. There's going to be a teleporter nearby, walk there, come home. Super easy. Using my actual job, I work about 30 miles outside of Boston in a very like suburban industrial park kind of area. And using Boston's public transit example, there is a commuter rail stop like a few miles away. So that's not necessarily the most convenient option. And even if like it gets to the point where it really has to get to the point where like every building has one before it's actually super convenient. So it's still going to be pretty annoying a lot of the time at first, I think, which is kind of a letdown because teleportation should be really cool, but eventually it'll get there.
Well, we do have a penchant for ruining things.
We do. It's we give these whimsical scenarios and then tell you how they actually suck. It's kind of our MO. So I think day-to-day life, that's kind of, eventually it'll be great. At the beginning, it'll be kind of annoying, but still better, I guess, because you also, once you're at the teleporter, you have no transit time. I'm figuring it's, pretty much instantaneous. So that's cool, but definitely some growing pains until the technology is fully adopted. The one that got more interesting to me thinking about was actually like going on vacation and stuff.
Like your trip to Trinidad.
Like my trip to Trinidad. Which once again, it's basically, at the start, it's actually super easy because it's just like, you go to the airport, you would go to the teleporter, you get teleported there. The one place where this gets tricky once again is that I was thinking about like, so what if you want to go to, say the top of a mountain? You get up there. Now you're just there. There's definitely not a teleporter there.
A lot of people will teleport to like, the top of Everest.
I was going to say,
die there.
Then they're just going to die immediately.
There's going to be a pile of bodies on the top of Everest.
Yeah, because
Well, I think people were just smart enough not to do that. Like,
man, I don't know. People are real dumb. If I've learned one thing in my time on this planet, it's that people are real dumb sometimes.
like, I could parachute out of a plane, but I don't. I like the plane like take me to like an airport where planes are there to take me back.
The difference is though, teleporting, jumping out of a plane with a parachute requires a lot more forethought than if you just like walk to your friendly neighborhood teleporter and just punch in, a location. So I can see the possibilities.
I definitely think people will do it.
Oh yeah. The thing I started thinking about was like, there is going to be a pretty high energy cost on this probably. So I started wondering, is it actually like really more efficient to do the teleporter? And I think it's actually be really hard for it not to be because, obviously like a plane uses energy too in the form of, fuel. But a lot of that fuel costs is going to just, moving the actual goddamn plane. So like a 747 weighs like between 735 and 970,000 pounds. And a typical like 3-class layout fits 416 passengers. So if you say that the average person's like 180 pounds, and on average someone will have like 50 pounds of luggage, which is probably high, but screw it, whatever. You're only going to have like 95,000 pounds of passengers / luggage, which is only like 10% of the weight you're actually moving. So it's going to take a lot of efficiency loss to not make this just an insane amount more efficient than flying places. So that's cool. That's a good one little nice, actual good thing that's happening here.
And it's faster.
And it is faster, which is also nice. So overall, traveling I think is definitely better too. And there was one last thing that I wanted to think about, which was dealing with garbage, which is not necessarily the first thing that you think about when it comes to teleportation.
But it's obvious once you mention it.
Right, yeah. Well, it's a way to actually solve this, terrible landfill and whatnot problem we have. So I was trying to figure out if there was a good way that we could handle our garbage problem by using teleporters. And my first thought was sending it into the sun, which is a great idea and really cool, but unfortunately the energy costs on that one probably get pretty prohibitive with that whole mass times distance thing. So I think even like getting it out into space is going to be really costly, because space is, I guess you could.
Far.
It's pretty far. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could, but then you just get all these like garbage balls floating around out there. Maybe that's better.
You have to go pretty far. You have to go pretty far out into space.
Or else it'll just fall back.
Exactly, yeah. All right, because it's also here's the problem, is that it's not like it's going to start orbiting when you put it up there.
Yeah, it's just going to be stationary.
And it's just going to fall straight back down. So that really doesn't work. So yeah, you can't put it in space. That doesn't work. The other thing I looked into was putting it in volcanoes, which I thought might be promising, because a lot of the reason that like this is a really dumb idea is that it's really hard to take stuff to the top of a volcano, which is much easier with a teleporter, obviously. But it turns out that also, you get a lot of issues with like when it burns up, it's releasing a bunch of shit back up into the atmosphere. So you really shouldn't do that. Don't burn trash. It's a bad idea.
Was there just a bunch of posts like, why don't we just throw our trash in volcanoes?
There was a popular science article I read that was literally called, "Why don't we just throw our garbage into volcanoes?" Which I believe was also, it was almost what I think what I Googled was, what if we threw our garbage in volcanoes? And I was very happy when the first result was almost exactly what I was asking. That doesn't happen that often while researching for this show.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so I think really the issue is that there's not a great way to deal with our garbage, just in general. I think it does. There's easier things we can do, where like we could do underground landfills. That still sucks. It's still a landfill.
What if you teleport it into the Earth's core?
Yeah.
I guess how far away? I guess that would work.
Is the Earth's core? The Earth's core is, I think, about as far away as the nearby spaces.
Isn't the Earth's core also like solid? So I guess you could.
No, it's molten. It's very dense, but it's molten.
Yeah, I guess you. I don't know how that. What happens?
I don't know how exactly it would work, because like you can't have matter, like two things of matter taking the same spot.
I feel like this is how you break the Earth in half somehow.
Yeah, we'd probably split the Earth in half.
Yeah,
eventually.
So maybe we don't. Let's not do that. That's just a different way to destroy our planet, much more like viscerally. So maybe just stick with the current way we're doing it. And
yeah, let's not
destroy
destroy our planet on this one, guys.
Yeah.
Let's try it. Let's try that one out for size.
But yeah, sadly, I couldn't come up with like a great solution overall for the garbage problem. Like, I don't know if you guys have any better ideas.
I mean, you could just, instead of garbage trucks, you just teleport. It's easier. It's
Right,
the same
yeah.
thing, but it's easier.
It is, it does. There's a lot of like quality of life things like that, where like, it's things like that, getting garbage to like the final resting point is simpler because you teleported. The other one I thought about was like shipping things to stores. Like, instead of using like 18-wheelers, factories will just have a teleporter, and there'll be like a designated, drop point in a store that you'll teleport like a crate of shit to, which is awesome. That's
Man,
great.
I got it.
Let me know.
Okay, so this is what you do. It's a two-step process. First, use your teleporter. Go into the Atlantic Ocean. Teleport all the fish to the Pacific Ocean.
What?
And then take all the
Marcus.
garbage and put it in the now empty Atlantic Ocean.
Marcus, do you understand how oceans work? Oceans don't have walls, Marcus.
They're all connected.
If you just fucking close up the Panama bullshit.
I don't think that's how it works.
Okay, big garbage wall. Garbage walls.
Garbage walls.
Oh, use the garbage to your advantage.
Built
The
via
Great Barrier
teleporter.
Walls. The new Great Barrier Reefs, because we killed the original.
Yeah, the original is under the wall, unfortunately. We had to make sacrifices.
Yeah, Great Barrier Reef Season 2. It's garbage.
Build a wall
As all sequels
underwater. The fish will pay for it.
Yeah, Chris, get us out of this before we ruin the planet and the oceans and all the things we normally ruin more.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I looked at the safety aspect of this, because I figured it's probably pretty easy to teleport somewhere you don't want to be, where you'd like die. So the first thing I looked at was roads, because if you like teleport into the middle of a road, that's a problem, obviously.
Yes.
But then I kind of realized, so the version of my question was like, everyone has teleporters. It's not like the transition period. So I figured there will be a transition period, but after the transition period, we don't really need roads anymore. No one's going to have cars or anything.
Where we're going, we don't need roads. Sorry, anyway, movie reference.
Yeah. So roads aren't really an issue, because you'll just transport to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. So that's not a problem. So the next thing I looked at was like buildings and walls and stuff, and just like teleporting into like walls, because that's
Not great.
a common thing that you think about when you teleport. And for this, my solution was just to like when someone builds a building, you're just going to have like a huge database of where all the buildings are. And I imagine, the way I imagine this teleporting working for like choosing locations stuff is basically just like a Google Maps sort of thing, and you like click where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like won't let you go into walls, and all the walls will be logged. If you build new buildings, you have to like log it into the database.
Until Google turns on us all.
Why would they? Okay.
It's not that far-fetched. Come on.
So like permanent objects like buildings and stuff are okay if we have that system. But for non-permanent objects like people, that is a problem, because you can't have a database for where people are.
Well, you could talk to Google.
Damn it, you got there first.
Yeah, I guess. Obviously, it's going to like raise privacy issues and stuff.
Yep.
So I figured the best way to do this was to have like designated areas that people can teleport. So they can't teleport anywhere. They can only teleport at stations. So for like popular areas like tourist attractions and stuff, there's going to be a lot of people going to that one spot every day. I looked up some popular tourist attractions, and according to the World Tourism Organization, the most popular locations are the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, which gets 91 million people a year, which averages out to like 249,000 people per day.
Jesus.
So if that many people are going to that one location in a day, chances are people are going to phase into each other.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
So those areas are going to be a problem. And then there are like events, like 1 day long events, like concerts and stuff. So I think in one of my previous answers, I looked up the biggest concert to ever happen, and it was a Rod Stewart concert in 1994 at the Copacabana Beach, and it was 3.5 million people.
That's still absurd to me.
It's not even like who, like people are like in a different zip code.
Right.
I know. So events like that are going to happen all the time. Like concerts happen all the time. So these designated areas that you teleport to, I guess you're going to have to like reserve like a coordinate or something. And they'll just be like really long schedules. You have to like look up a coordinate to see if it's available at that time that you want to go. And then once you actually teleport there, I guess, because it's going to be tricky trying to leave that area, because there's going to be a ton of people teleporting there, and you don't want to walk somewhere where someone's going to teleport. So I guess there'll be like aisles that you can walk down or something. I don't know. I didn't really think about that. And I think that would work. It would take up a lot of space, and I guess instead of like parking lots, you'd have like teleporting lots or something.
Yeah, you definitely need like a area that was like no one's allowed in here
You just need,
at
like-
any time unless
you
they're
need, like, a
literally
big
just
field.
teleported.
Right.
It'll be a problem for like cities, because where are you going to get that space? I don't know. But overall, it'll work once you find the space. I guess we fit cars in cities and stuff, so we can fit people. But then I was thinking, so when you teleport, you can't exist where like matter already exists. So like you can't teleport into a wall. I assume if you teleport into a wall, it'll displace the matter that's in the wall. Like the wall matter won't just disappear.
Right.
So if you teleport somewhere else, like air is also matter. So it's going to displace the air. And what happens when you compress air is that it heats up. And if you displace it like basically instantly, because that's what you're doing when you're teleporting, it's going to heat up a lot. You are basically just going to burst into flames. So you can't really teleport where there's air. So really, I think our teleporting is just restricted to like, you can teleport into space, and you can teleport if there's a vacuum somewhere. You can't teleport if there's matter anywhere.
Wow. So Chris, even you managed to ruin teleportation.
I know. I didn't expect it, but it happened. How are you going to ruin teleportation for us, Marcus?
Yeah, it's my turn to suck the fun out of it. Can't wait.
Yay. Let's suck all the air out of the room so we can teleport there.
So as Ben mentioned, I looked into the energy requirements of teleportation. So my assumption, which is a pretty big assumption, you can disagree with this one, but I feel like the way teleportation works is you have to convert mass into energy And then that energy can be what is moved, at the speed of light to get where you're going. And we get to use the smartest equation in the world, E equals mc squared. And so my assumption is that in order to teleport something, you have to convert it into energy. And to do that, you'll need as much energy as mc squared. So that means it's going to take a ton of energy to transport things. So for 1 kilogram of mass, it would take 8.98 times 10 to the 16th joules of energy. To put it into perspective, in 2015, the world consumed 109,000 terawatt hours of energy, which is 3.95 times 10 to the 20th joules, as opposed to 10 to the 16th. So we have energy. We produce about 1.08 times 10 to the 18th joules per day, which, put it all together, means we can only transport about 12 kilograms of mass per day if we use all the energy that we produce in the planet, just to teleport things.
So what you're telling me is that my assumption about the amount of energy this would take is a little bit naive, actually.
Not more efficient than a plane.
Maybe not as efficient as a plane, it turns out.
Maybe not quite efficiency. And there's even bigger problems because, like I said, that's using all the energy. But that's assuming you can put all the energy in the world in one place in your transporter. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. I assume that you have to have, you're powering it locally. So the largest power plant, the biggest generating capacity, is the Three Gorges Dam in China, which can generate 22,500 megawatts of power. And so this whole dam, if you had it for a whole day, just charging up, you could teleport 21.7 grams of matter, which is, I suppose in comparison, is about the same weight as like a mouse. Not even a rat, like a mouse.
It's like the amount of sugar in a piece of candy.
It's also, thanks internet, the equivalent weight of 5 dice. So you could play the most expensive Yahtzee game ever if you are so inclined. And so that's not, like, you could do things with that. Like, you could probably, transport, like, some papers or flash drives or data. Like, you could use it in some kind of business sense as, like, a very expensive overnight type shipping deal.
Mm-hmm. So the distance isn't a limiting factor in your version?
No.
Okay.
Because you're just converting it into, you're basically making it go as fast as the speed of light.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So you convert it to energy, and then distances doesn't even apply anymore.
Right.
Based on my vague understanding of relativity. And so that is no bueno for moving. And, people obviously are just out of the question. So you can move little things around. And probably that's only at the Three Gorges Dam. The Three Gorges Dam, as you might imagine, is a natural feature of the world. There's these 3 huge rivers coming down, and they put up their, generators and their big dam to capture all that wave energy. But obviously, not everywhere's got big old rivers. So if it became widespread, the best energy that you can get anywhere is going to be nuclear power. So the Palo Verde nuclear power plant in Arizona is the largest nuclear power plant in the United States. It's got 3 reactors and can generate a total amount of energy equal to about 4,000 megawatts compared to the 22.5 of China. So in a day, it can generate enough energy to transport 3.8 grams of matter, which is either the weight of 1 dice or 2 playing cards. So you can play either of those fancy games.
We can eventually play poker, bit by bit, day by day.
So these aren't too practical for too many real world purposes. But the one thing I think you could do with them, because I was looking at I was trying to look at like tiny tech, if you could like do like just a whole bunch of data or like stuff like that. And I think the most practical solution is to use it for spycraft, where you can get those really tiny spy drones, like the ones that either are modeled after insects and things, because those will be under that like 3 or 4 grams. And all it is like the tiniest circuit board, like a little camera and like, wings or propellers of some sort. So I think the way they would be used would be all our big countries would set up their Three Gorges Dam, and then China would just send out like 1 million spy drones all over the world in hard to get to places.
That's a comforting thought.
Yeah, especially it's super comforting because they could probably just fucking do that already without teleporting them. They just spent like an extra day. But yeah, so I think we've managed to teleport all the fun out of this question.
Yeah,
I would agree with
as
that.
exciting as we had hoped.
But at least I hope you guys had fun while you're here. And if you did, feel free to leave us a review on our podcast. That was always super helpful for getting us to show up higher on the search results. You can subscribe to our podcast to get the new episodes when they show up. And as always, which I imagine we got many things wrong on this question, you can reach out to us, send us an email, absurdhypotheticals@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at absurdhype, that's absurdhype, HYPE, on Twitter. Or you can get in touch with us on Facebook, in our Facebook group, either Absurd Hypotheticals, or reach out to us directly, Absurd Hypotheticals, P-A-L-S at the end, where we have a chat going where you can just hop in and ask us questions, and we'll check that fairly frequently, and you can talk to us directly. All right, welcome back, everybody. Now that you've all gone and commented and subscribed and done all the call to action things that we have asked, you are now allowed to listen to the second half of our beautiful podcast.
You have gained access.
But if you didn't do it, please actually keep listening because we want you to hear it anyway.
Pause the episode and subscribe or do whatever. I forget what you asked him to do, but
all the things.
All the things.
Complain at us. Just complain at us. Honestly, I'll take that at this point.
Yeah.
But they really should, because this second half is some real world knowledge and advice that you normally don't get for free. Usually you have to pay some scam artists to get information like this.
No, usually you just have to do the Google searches that we do.
No, because our next one, this is all out of our mind palaces.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is 3 foolproof plans of how we are going to take over the world. So, Ben. I can read the names on this piece of paper. Describe your elaborate plan to take over the world.
I want to quickly point out, I really love that you made this mistake on this question, because the order is entirely arbitrary on this question with literally no,
Yeah, I could have gone first, it didn't matter.
But whatever, I can go now. That's cool.
Usually we pick our order based on what makes sense for the answers, but
yeah,
doesn't matter this time.
Well, my plan's the best, so it's going to go last. And I assume Ben's is the worst because he hasn't taken over the world yet.
Oh, definitely. So I'm going to say, so part of that is that the first step of my plan I'm not entirely clear on yet, which we're going to get to. So the most important thing, I think, in getting this whole ball rolling towards world domination is money. You need money to get started. That's, no matter what you're doing, you're going to need some cash to actually, get the wheels turning.
That is true.
So for the rest of my plan, it's going to be really beneficial to have inroads with tech companies and Silicon Valley and stuff. So I'm going to say the best thing to, get going on your world domination plan is to make a tech startup, sell it, get paid.
Yeah. And this may seem like a bold assumption, but at the same time, something needs to go very right if you're going to take over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And you may be asking, what kind of startup should it be? And I'm going to level with you. If I had the answer to that, I would probably not be doing this podcast right now.
Unless it is podcasting and Ben's trying to keep the field clear.
That is
Don't
possible.
you all start making podcasts.
So in general, I think, once you have this, you've made the company, sold off, I think in general, you're going to start doing some pretty esoteric shit. So I think in general, you're going to want to make this real, cultivate this sort of eccentric tech genius personality. So people don't really question the things you do, You want to kind of just be oh, that's one of those guys that just has a lot of money and throws it around and just does weird tech stuff. So when you start doing all these weird things, people won't start getting suspicious.
You're basically the evil Batman.
Pretty much, yeah. So one of the biggest problems with taking over the world is that it's really hard. You have a lot of build up and everything going on to get to that point. And getting to that point, and also during the actual overthrowing portion, it's really hard to get enough loyal people to actually follow through with the plan. So the solution is death robots. Not necessarily just death robots, but robots in general. It's just gonna be a lot easier if if you're there'll obviously be people involved as well, but that way you keep your number of people in the loop smaller, because loose lips sink ships, as you know. So death robots will be involved because you are going to be doing that whole overthrow society thing at some point, and death robots help with that. But also just in general, more general purpose robots for, getting everything ramped up and everything will be useful. So just general robotics is an area you're going to start going into, but it's kind of hard to go straight into robotics. And really, when it comes to the death robots in particular, you're really going to have to do some really good work on computer vision and stuff like that, because you need to be able to identify the people that the death robots should and should not be killing, So I think sort of the place where this large scale manufacturing and computer vision and stuff sort of meets is like autonomous cars. And this is great because this is an area that's, a big tech thing already, and you can get in there and it'll help you build up more funds. And, you can do all this testing of basically just robots, without people being suspicious. You get some factories going that you can convert to other purposes eventually. It just gets all your infrastructure nice, legitimate reason to have it,
I mean, who knows? Maybe Google is actually doing this right now with their
Could be.
auto-driving cars.
Could be. So the one problem you're going to hit, when trying to overthrow society with death robots and whatnot, is that obviously robots have to be powered. So I think you can't just use like traditional electricity necessarily, always. I think another area you're going to have to go into, in your eccentric tech billionaire persona, is start really doing some pushing on like solar power and like batteries. Because that way, even if, when you flip the switch and start taking over, if they, cut off power to you, you still have, a way to get your power and you have a bunch of power stored up. I think that's going to be just a way to sort of, stop getting short-circuited, literally, kind of, as your plan is really ramping up, So I think, start once again pushing your money into developing, solar power, battery, stuff like that. And then, when we actually get to this point where you are overthrowing society, I think it probably makes a lot of sense to not necessarily actually be just on the planet when it happens. Just because people are obviously, when it starts going down, when your autonomous cars start flipping out, guns and stuff, and it's going to be pretty obvious who is behind all of this. All the pieces will come together for people.
I mean, you don't have to put your company logo on the death robots.
But I guess you could. But I mean, the branding opportunities, like you want people to know who's in control.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
It's very.
Well,
they're
going to be branded. Like all cars are branded.
Exactly.
Well, people like the death robots.
Publicity. Yeah.
Well, why don't you just make them all death robots?
Well, that's why I think is that actually your cars will eventually, maybe not at first, but eventually you start hiding the death robots basically inside of the cars just to get them out there.
Ben, you're missing a very obvious solution.
What is my obvious solution?
The cars are the death robots.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, totally. Not at first, because you want to get out there and get the trust out there, but eventually, yes, I agree. But yeah, so you definitely, when everything is actually going down, you want to make sure you're secure. So I see you have two options here. One is to go to space, maybe to another planet, maybe just up like a satellite or something. But I think you want to start, putting money into like private space flight and stuff, just to make sure that you have that option available to you. The other possibility is like an underground bunker or something. And I think that it's not with your crazy tech billionaire persona, you could totally come up with some excuse to start, digging tunnels or something. And I think Marcus has just realized what I'm doing right now.
No, I do.
I hate you so much.
I think you can figure out some excuse to start digging tunnels and you can get some infrastructure down there. And what I'm going to say now is that I am just describing Elon Musk. 100% everything I described is things that Elon Musk has done. I am not saying that Elon Musk is planning to take over the world. However, I am saying that it is a very legitimate strategy that he is currently doing.
Ben, do you want to take 5 seconds to talk about Elon Musk's stupid tunnels? Because all the other stuff are his big things, but this one might be lost by the wayside.
This one is a little bit new, yeah. And this one, there was an article that I actually shared another group chat with that Marcus is in, like, before we started recording, and I was afraid that would, like, blow my cover. By the way, when did you guys start realizing it? Was it at the tunnels?
It was at the space for me.
The space?
Going
Okay.
into space.
Yeah.
I was barely paying attention, so I waited for the tunnels.
Fair enough. Basically, Elon Musk has made a system where he wants to make a really packed subway system that only works with a Tesla car. Where, like, you drive your car into this underground tunnel, and then it, like, drives on rails like a fucking Disneyland ride at, like, 50 miles an hour until it gets to where it's going. Which seems super dumb and pointless.
Oh, does it go up to 50? I read it goes 25 to 30 miles an hour.
That's hilarious. I think they were saying, the one I saw like 53, which is still not great. And doing the, like, 4-kilometer loop they already did cost like $10 million or something, and apparently felt like driving on a dirt road. So it's a bad idea, Elon. I don't know what you're thinking, but maybe that's just part of your plan. Who knows? So
look, he has to have some sort of excuse that doesn't sound evil.
Exactly. In summary, be Elon Musk, and then eventually flip the switch and take over the world. So yeah, Chris, what did you do?
Yeah, so for my plan, first I did to sort of define what I thought taking over the world meant. And to me, it's basically like a popularity contest. You want everyone to think you're to like you, right? So I did probably the most general Google search I've ever done, which is I searched most popular thing. Because I want to leverage popular things so that I can become popular. And the first thing that came up was Michael Jackson's Thriller, the album.
Okay.
Which is pretty popular.
It's pretty popular.
It sold 47 million copies of the album, which is the most all-time sales of any album. And it's still the highest selling album in the world to this day. So to leverage this, I started looking into like brainwashing and if you can like brainwash people with music. And as I started researching that, I quickly realized that that's not a thing. That doesn't exist.
Have you seen the episode of The Simpsons where the Navy makes a pop song that when played backwards just says join the Navy over and over? Because that's an excellent episode of The Simpsons.
I don't remember that one, but it sounds amazing.
It's like Yvonne et Niage, and it just join the Navy like backwards.
So once I realized that the brainwashing thing doesn't exist, I kind of ditched that plan, and I sort of refined my search to most popular thing in 2018.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Keeping it topical.
Because I figure like some things that are popular like then aren't necessarily popular now. So there might be things that are more efficient to leverage people. So I found a list on ranker.com. That was the first thing that came up on that search. And the top 5 things on that list for 2018 were Avengers Infinity War, Black Panther, Fortnite, Yanny or Laurel, and the World Cup.
Okay.
So I want to try to leverage all these 5 things. You might not know what some of those things are. I'll explain later.
I'll explain when you're older. Too young to learn about Fortnite.
Yeah. So step 1 in my plan, watch Infinity War, because I have not seen that movie yet.
It's coming to Netflix on Christmas.
I know. I plan on
So it'll be
then. So it's
on Netflix when this episode airs.
Yeah, so I will have watched it by then.
Hey, Netflix, sponsor us.
We're going to have to try harder than this.
Or Disney, I guess. Someone.
And then, I don't know, maybe I'll learn something from Thanos from that movie. I don't know what happens in that movie yet, so...
If you don't know, congratulations for apparently not being on the internet for the past several months.
Well, I know the basics.
Fair enough, all right.
Some things. I'm not going to get into it.
Reasonable.
So step 2 of my plan is actually an extension of one of our previous questions with our evil lair, where we tried to make our evil lair, and I said that my lair would be in Disney, and I would partner up with Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already partnered up with Disney in my plan.
Right.
In my brain, I'm already partnered with Disney. They sponsor this episode. Go watch Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
It's great. 5 stars.
So I'll use my connections with Disney to kind of like interweave myself into the Marvel movies, because Avengers and Black Panther are at the top of that list. Avengers Infinity War actually made $2 billion, and the average ticket price in 2018 is $9.16, which means that 218 million people saw that movie. And then Black Panther, 142 million people saw that movie. So Marvel is like known for doing like weird cameos and stuff. So, it's like a crossover thing. So if I can just like make a cameo in all of Marvel's movies, then it just increases my presence and it increases my popularity. So that's step 2. Step 3, Fortnite. So Fortnite is a video game, if you don't know. You probably do. And 80 million people play Fortnite right now.
Jesus.
Yeah,
it's kind of insane.
And they actually did do a crossover with Avengers Infinity War before.
They did.
Where you could play as Thanos for part of it. So they're already known to have a connection with Marvel. And I already have that connection. So I think I'll just make a cameo in Fortnite as well. I'll be a playable character in Fortnite. And that'll increase my popularity even more. So I've leveraged Avengers, Black Panther, and Fortnite. Next, for step 4, I'm going to leverage the World Cup. So the World Cup is like one of the most popularly watched things in the world. 3.4 billion viewers watch it.
Well, that's a little bit more than all those movies, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot. And compared, like in the US, the Super Bowl is like the most watched thing, but comparatively, the Super Bowl only gets 150 million compared to 3.4 billion, which is like a huge difference.
Yeah, we as Americans do not understand the World Cup like the rest of the world does.
Yeah.
This is true.
So my plan is basically to just fund the World Cup with my Disney money. So Russia hosted the World Cup in 2018, and they spent $11.6 billion. And Disney's net worth is $113 billion. So we have plenty of money to fund the World Cup.
10 World Cups in there. Come on.
Yeah, I know. So I'll fund the World Cup, and then basically all the ads in the World Cup will just be me.
What's great that I'm seeing, though, is that obviously this is a global event, so you can't really have, like, English be a part of the ads. The ad is just going to be like, you, just like your face.
I guess, yeah.
Just like a smile and a nod.
Yep. Like, you understand. You know.
And I'll also make like a personal appearance there. I don't know. I actually don't watch the World Cup, so I don't know like what the format is. If they have like some sort of like halftime show-ish thing or something like that. But if they do have a halftime show-ish thing, then I'm going to show up in the halftime show-ish thing. So, and then you mentioned the language of my appearance, and that actually brings me to step 5 with Yanny or Laurel. Have you guys heard of Yanny or Laurel?
I have heard of Yanny or Laurel, yes.
I have not.
Yeah, so there's a recording of someone saying the word Yanny or the word Laurel, and depending on who you are, you either hear Yanny or Laurel, and there's like a dispute as to like what it actually is.
It's kind of like the dress.
The dress. Yeah, so it's very similar to the dress. If you don't know what the dress is, it's some people saw a dress as white and gold, and other people saw it as blue and black, looking at the same picture. And there was like a huge dispute, and like everyone was talking about it.
Do you remember what camp you landed in?
I saw white and gold.
I know I started as one and switched to the other.
I was a white gold.
I was white gold.
And
I was actually incorrect because it actually is black and blue.
So I heard that argument a lot. I'm not going to say you're incorrect, because the question is not what color is the dress actually. The question is what color is this picture of the dress.
Yeah, that's true.
Because colors are not, like, in pictures are not necessarily exactly what they are in real life.
Right. It depended on like the lighting in the atmosphere, but the actual dress in real life is black and blue.
I'm pretty sure I initially saw white and gold, and then I started seeing blue and black, and never was able to go back.
Yeah. So Yanny and Laurel, it piqued its interest in May of 2018, and there's actually a YouTube video explaining like the phenomenon, and that video has 50 million views, so it's actually pretty popular. And then the dress peaked in February of 2015, and that same channel explained the dress phenomenon, and it got 26 million views. And then this year, when Yanny or Laurel peaked, the dress also peaked, so there's like a correlation between the two. By the way, Yanny or Laurel is actually, the real recording is Laurel. The first time I listened to it, I heard Yanny, but then it kind of switched over for me, and I started to hear Laurel.
I think that's kind of what happened to me too, yeah.
I'll have to listen to it and then give my completely unexpert opinion on it.
Yeah. So basically, I want to try to combine these two things. So I said I'm going to make appearances in the Avengers movies and all the Marvel movies. I'm going to make an appearance in Fortnite. I'm going to make an appearance at the World Cup. And you mentioned the language. The language doesn't matter because all I'm going to be doing is wearing the dress and saying Laurel. And then people will talk about me because there'll be a dispute about what the dress is and what I'm saying.
Or we have bisected the world twice, and there will be a 4-faction war of the blue Yennies, the yellow Yennies, the blue Laurels, and the yellow Laurels.
Yeah.
Each of them claims a continent, and there's a World War III.
I mean, that can be my plan, I guess. That's my plan now. divide the world, and then I can conquer.
Yes, and then Chris standing directly on the international date line where it meets the equator.
No, because what happens is eventually one side will win, everyone else will be wiped out, and they'll worship you as a god because you will be like, yes, you were correct. It is white and gold, and also I was saying Yanny. You are all correct. Bow before me. You are the chosen ones.
So that's my plan. Disney has the capability to take over the world. They haven't done it yet, but I'm just going to piggyback off of their money and do these things.
Sounds good.
All right. That leaves it to be my turn. So my star is a little bit similar to Ben's, where what you need to have money, and tech's a good place to do it. So the tech that I think would be the one that's most effective, they're just getting some prototypes out for it now, which is wireless charging. And not the shit wireless charging where you put your phone on like a circle and they're like, this is so much more convenient than plugging it in. I still don't get that, why people do that.
I don't either. It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever.
What they are doing now is they have demonstrated and they've had prototypes for actual wireless charging where you can move around a room and a radio frequency radiation, like what's in like a Wi-Fi signal, will actually trigger your battery to charge itself very slowly. But the tech does already exist, like in its very non-marketable basic form, where you have basically just like radio frequency radiation hitting your phone to charge it. And so really the trick here is bringing this technology not just to everybody's home, but just to do it via satellite, where you can charge people's phones from space. And if you can invent this, nobody's gonna say no. If I could walk down the sidewalk and have my phone charging all the time, that would be fucking amazing. So that is the main setup. So you invent the satellites to do this, and it is possible. It is possible because radio frequency radiation is just, you know, a type of radiation. So, you know, basically it starts off as like cell signals, Wi-Fi, all uses the same things, and they'll have actual like the big towers that are used for like more industrial or data transfer. They have a range of about 40-ish miles, and the International Space Station, for example, is 240 miles from the surface of the Earth. But like with some technological improvements and a bit of beef on those bad boys, I think it's in the same order of magnitude that you'd be able to, you know, manage to do it. But here's kind of where you turn the page, because now you have your satellites out there, and like I said, it's in Wi-Fi and cell signals, but another common item that uses radio frequency radiation is a microwave, which is just using, you know, more powerful frequencies. So if you are able to increase the power of your satellites to that by just like, you know, changing a setting, you've basically just invented a space laser. And they're already distributed around the planet with nobody the wiser. And when I was researching these, I was at the FCC's RF radiation page with their, you know, health and safety fact. And so my favorite quote here is, 2 areas of the body, the eyes and the testes, are particularly vulnerable to RF heating because of the relative lack of available blood flow to dissipate the excess heat load.
Oh no.
So it is not an exaggeration to say you literally have the world by the balls. So obviously there's establishing your control once you do this is once you're obviously already very rich, and you have a very strong standing threat to literally anybody who's like outside or like in the top floor of a building. And there's a couple it's kind of the end of the plan, but there's a couple bonuses I realize you have with this setup. You can pretty effectively control communications between people by, you know, just frying their phone when they're talking about something inconvenient. Or you can control what news gets out by frying the computers and servers that are broadcasting the news that you don't like. So you can go very totalitarian and like, you know, Big Brother-esque and control everything that way. And then if people people can't get the lasers out of space, because either you have to launch a missile or you have to send something up into space. And
you can just shoot it
last
down.
time I checked, space launches are pretty sensitive procedures that don't really benefit from getting microwaved from space. So really, I'm just trying to find any flaw in this plan of that where you don't take over the world.
I mean, the flaw in the plan is that Elon Musk has been setting up his tunnels this whole time, and he's going to hide everyone and be our savior. And then Elon Musk controls the world. You've played right into Elon Musk's hands.
And then I'm going to divide your Elon Muskians with my Yanni versus Laurel.
Yeah, you're going to make our two...
It's pronounced musketeers, I will have you know.
But they're actually saying muscalorals.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I really don't have much more to say, because this plan just ended up being very, very good and not requiring a whole lot of extra shit to go right to get it working.
I mean, giant space laser is a pretty solid plan.
I mean, it's time. It's proven by. Wasn't that the plot of? Well, not entirely the plot, but part of the plot of Austin Powers. Didn't he have a space laser?
Yeah, but he did a bad job.
Well, yeah, you would be better.
He needed like the moon or something to make it work. I forget.
Related. Yeah.
Was that? I don't know. What was the plot of Moonraker? The Bond movie.
Moonraker.
I imagine it had something to do with lasers in space.
I feel like I know there were lasers in space, but I can't remember if it was a space laser per se.
Was there just like a lot of leaves on the moon that they wanted to rake away? Were they trying to clean it up?
Yeah, that's it.
Was
It's not autumn very often in the moon, but when it is, it's a mess.
Was the GoldenEye system a space laser? It was a space-based weapon. I can't remember what it actually did.
Golden. Oh, I don't remember.
I know
Something
it
to
was,
do with space.
it was a weapon on a satellite, but I don't think it was actually a laser.
Probably in one of the Bond movies there's a space laser.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a pretty safe bet.
So, I mean, if James Bond villain does it, there's no real James Bond to stop me. So,
Elon Musk.
I mean, copyright though. They'll get you with
yeah.
lawyers.
no, they're gonna get the guy pretending to be James Bond. So I'm in the clear. They're gonna see his spy car and be like, can you please return that to Orlando Studios, Florida, please? All right, I think we've remembered enough movies with space lasers in them, or incorrectly remembered some movies with space lasers in them as may be the
remember
case.
some movies that may or may not have space lasers.
Vaguely, yeah.
So yes, again, write to us in our podcast, send us an email, send us questions. We love to answer listeners' questions. And we will see you next time with the following questions. What if you had to publicly announce all your actions? And what if you had the only fully armed and operational lightsaber?